stop me if you've heard this one before. You're scrolling on TikTok, YouTube, or some other social media platform when suddenly you come across a video or a post calling out a furry content creator you like. Maybe they're into something that's controversial, or it's a maker that screwed over one of their buyers, or worse, they're doing something harmful or potentially even illegal. It can be pretty jarring and even cause panic if it's someone you've been looking up to. Maybe they're a maker you've always wanted to buy from, or maybe it's a furry YouTuber you've always been inspired by. With Zootopia 2 now out and the rise of more furry media in the mainstream, there's been an influx of new and especially young furries joining the fandom and starting off this new hobby. With people joining the fandom, they're going to be looking for more content to fill the hobby, and that often leads to watching individual creators who aren't vetted by any form of content label or someone watching their behaviors. It can lead to people following the wrong types of folks, getting influenced, or, depending on the person, even getting hurt. Not everyone on the internet is our friend or has our best interests at heart, so it's important to stay safe. I've personally been in the fandom for nearly a decade, and since then I've been through the loop. I've seen people get canceled, I've seen people try to worm their way back in, and while it's kind of depressing to experience, the cycle of drama and cancellation is normal with fandoms. It's often why more experienced or older furries may take a step back or just enjoy the fandom on a casual basis, rather than being as rooted in as newer people. So, with all this in mind, I wanted to create a sort of guide for folks on how to handle when you see a creator being cancelled, and how to keep yourself safe in online spaces. So, you've just seen someone canceling your favorite suitor, maker, etc., and the comments are full of replies. You feel your heart race as your stomach drops, and you might even feel sad or angry as you learn this information. What do? Well, step 1 is to not panic. Take a pause. I know it's really tempting to fall into the spiral of doom scrolling the comments, or even send a reactionary reply to the post. You might be inclined to defend the person they're calling out, or you might post something with, "Oh my god, I can't someone like this would do that." Pause, take a breath, and put the phone down, or step away from the keyboard, whichever device you're watching on. High emotions are normal in this sort of thing, especially if you've learned about someone who you respect or look up to. However, it is very difficult to make a sound decision when you've just found out about something that's distressing, angering, or otherwise riles you up. Take 10 to 15 minutes and step away from your device or wherever you just learned the information. Go for a walk, get some exercise, take a shower, make and eat a meal or a snack, or just do something to settle your system. If you're feeling particularly panicked, you can engage in anxiety-reducing behaviors like box breathing, cuddling one of your pets, or even getting a hug from a loved one if you need it. You can even cry it out if you have to. We often make poor decisions when we're stressed out, angry, or otherwise emotional, so it's best to wait until you've had some time to cool down so as to avoid a knee-jerk response. Once you've had some time to debug and settle, then you can return to things and start assessing the situation if you want to. Or if you aren't comfortable with it, you can also let it go. You aren't obligated or otherwise responsible for keeping up with everything in the fandom. There's thousands or possibly even millions of us worldwide, and it's impossible to do everything. Furry is a hobby, and your personal well-being comes first over doom scrolling over furry drama. The second step of this is going to be checking the sources of the claims, verifying the information, and assessing the situation. Do they have a Google Doc or thread with unedited screenshots? Is there otherwise documented evidence of the person's poor behavior? Are there multiple people coming forward with similar accounts of the situation, or is it just one person? I want to make something abundantly clear here. It is important to listen to victims and give them their due voice. Shutting someone down over genuine concerns for a creator that you don't know personally can be very damaging or possibly worsen the situation. Not all issues may have evidence, such as if it happened behind closed doors or in a real-life situation, so it's important to keep this in mind. However, we do live in a world where people will falsely accuse or make up information for a lot of reasons. Reactionary content is stronger than ever thanks to the current political landscape, to the point where people will make money off of making people angry. Many people benefit from making inflammatory content nowadays, or some might even do it just to get back at someone they don't like. False bewares are unfortunately quite common, and it's important to keep a critical eye when people make claims, especially if it seems out of character for the person they're accusing. Now, I do want to add a caveat to this. If you are under the age of 18 and the subject matter of the beware is of a not safe for work nature or otherwise inappropriate for minors, it is advisable to step away from this to avoid exposing yourself to content or imagery that could be traumatic or otherwise distressing. If a creator is being canceled regarding some form of sexual misconduct and you are a minor, I would recommend stepping away for your own safety anyways and putting some distance between them and yourself. If it's something that really concerns you, you can have a parent or guardian sit down and review the information for you. Trust me, as someone who saw some things as a teenager, you'll thank me for it, and having someone with more life experience will really help you in this kind of situation. Our next step is where our options begin to branch. If the evidence carries legitimacy and the accusations have come to the creator's attention or otherwise, things can go one of two ways. Either one, they will address the situation, or two, they'll ignore it. Ignoring the problem stems from one of a few places. Sometimes if someone big is called out for something and the evidence is legitimate, they may ignore the call out in hopes that everything will blow over. It's essentially like an ostrich hiding its head in the sands in hopes that a problem will go away, and they'll just keep creating content to kind of bury it all underneath. If a creator is behaving like this, it's likely a good idea to start considering stepping away. Now, another reason why a creator might ignore a problem is because if it isn't legitimate, or it's someone doing it out of spite or revenge, it's going to call attention to the person calling them out. Being a creator with any sort of following nowadays comes with a bit of a responsibility in that you do have power over the people who follow you. Mentioning someone by name in a negative light can get audiences to dogpile on others, or it'll give the person doing the call out exactly what they want, which is attention. People will do call-out posts just for attention or followers, or to force a response out of the creator. It's sad, but it's important to remember that a creator is not obligated to interact with you, and if you take it out on them, they're less and less likely to interact with you. It's also incredibly scummy to get likes like this, or posts, etc., from people who just genuinely don't know what the full situation is. You're playing with people's trust, and you're worsening the trust in the fandom and the people who make stuff for the fandom in general. If a creator addresses the situation, it's important to pay attention to how they go about it. Do they blow it off and say that they were in the right? Do they present counter-evidence in a calm manner to show their side of the story, or do they acknowledge that they did something wrong and try to do better for it? If a creator is blowing off the evidence, laughing it off, or even excusing their behavior, that is unfortunately a red flag. If they aren't willing to apologize for doing bad behavior online, it's unfortunately likely they will not show remorse in person if they were to do something to you, for example. This is especially poignant if their behavior was causing anyone harm or, is worse, illegal. If a creator is presenting counter-evidence, pay attention to how they're presenting it and kind of assess their behavior. Was it a misunderstanding? Did something go wrong in the process? Was the information blown out of proportion, or are they just doing this to show that they were hurt too? This is a very case-by-case scenario, and it's important to take everything with a grain of salt. Pay attention to how they speak, and if they're being genuine, take note of it. Just be aware, people can fake being genuine, so compare the evidence to their behavior. A red flag to keep in mind is that if this creator says something in response without showing evidence, that is called anecdotal evidence. Anecdotal evidence can only go so far because, well, people can lie. People can, in fact, make up information as a counter, so be wary when someone's getting fired up and saying a lot of stuff without showing receipts. Finally, if someone is apologizing for misbehavior, it means that they're acknowledging that they screwed up. Now, here's the thing. Just because they're apologizing doesn't necessarily mean that things can go back to being hunky-dory. If they're apologizing for a single screw-up over, say, a fursuit head having a mistake in it, or something going wrong, it's usually a little better than someone apologizing for illegal or harmful behavior. It's important to ask yourself why someone is apologizing for something. Are they apologizing because they genuinely feel bad about the situation and want to do better, or are they just doing it to keep the peace or to get back to the way things they want it? Are they showing genuine remorse, or are they doing it just to garner sympathy and put themselves on the moral high ground? Determining whether anything online is legitimate is tough, especially in online content because people can script and edit things all the time. I've had a lot of people say that they like me in the past when in reality they don't know much about me IRL. I'm a very different person among my loved ones at home versus the way I present myself online as example. Just like an edited Instagram picture, the things that we view online are through a lens rather than how we'd see it in person, and then even some people are very good at putting on a mask to hide their true feelings and behaviors. It's incredibly important to assess the severity of the situation as well. See how the content creator is responding, if at all, and see what they'll do different or better in the future. Depending on how bad it is, it's important to ask yourself if you're willing to ride it out with someone who caused harm, or if maybe now's a good time to hop off the sinking ship and head for greener pastures. You don't want them dragging you down with them, do you? Finally, we have step 4. Assess where you're at. So, you've sat down in your little mental courtroom. You've assessed the evidence, you've seen how people are responding, and now you're asking yourself, what now? Well, this part is really up to you. How are you feeling about finding out this information? How are you feeling about the creator or person in question after this? If they've genuinely done something bad, how do you feel about continuing to support them or just following them? Do you want to be around someone who behaved like that? The most important thing you can ask yourself in this moment is how can you keep yourself safe and protect your peace? Your well-being is ultimately more important than any creator online, and it's important to make sure that you aren't around people who can hurt you mentally, physically, or otherwise. The safety of yourself and your loved ones are ultimately your biggest priority, and if it's safer for you to step away from a toxic or dangerous person, then that's your best choice in doing so. Now, I know it's difficult to move on from content creators we enjoy, especially if they're a comfort creator. Maybe their content got you through some hard times, or something they said really stuck with you. I personally grew up in the early 2010s, and I saw what happened in the Minecraft community, for example. In this era, a lot of us tend to look up to YouTubers and online creators more than, say, regular celebrities, so it can be disheartening when we have to step away from supporting them for both our safety and, in some cases, a moral standpoint. It's important to ask yourself where you stand on their actions. Were they posting content that's harmful? Were they causing harm to children, animals, or people who weren't able to speak up for themselves? Were they being abusive or manipulative towards a partner or other people in their life? Were they lying towards their audience or engaging in scams? These are a few things to keep in mind when balancing if you can continue to support someone or not. Now, I know a lot of people are going to talk about separating art from the artist, but if a creator or company is causing harm, for example, supporting them can either embolden them to continue, or in some cases provide them a platform to continue causing harm. Even if it's just views, giving your eyes and time helps boost them in the algorithm, even if they're not directly making money off of it. Using J.K. Rowling as a prime example, continued purchases of the Harry Potter media, merch, and game experiences do feed directly into her pocket, which in her case is often forwarded to fund stuff like anti-trans programs in the UK. Being trans, I personally cannot support that kind of behavior, so I don't support her in any way. Even though it's a small drop in the lake, my time, money, and attention aren't going to cause harm to other people, and that's what's important. When it comes to creators online, viewership, attention, or following them is continued support. It's an unfortunate factor to keep in mind that mutuals can also see whether you're following a particular creator in a server, or depending on the scale of the drama or their behavior, that can reflect poorly on you. When you see, say, a close friend following a controversial creator, it's important not to blow up at them right away for supporting them or otherwise being close to them. Not everyone keeps their ear to the ground on online drama, and not everyone is aware of what's going on. You can gently inform them about what's going on, and whether they want to listen is ultimately up to them. At the end of the day, the only things we really control are how we respond to drama or otherwise unhealthy situations. It's ultimately up to us to decide how we want to respond, or if we want to respond. You are just as valid for simply stepping away, and you aren't obligated to throw your hat into the ring to talk about complicated issues, especially if it's something you're not fully informed about. Ultimately, just remember that your safety, well-being, and peace of mind are what comes first. Protect yourself, be careful around strangers, and remember that what we post online stays online. Even if it seems like it'll disappear in a mountain of content or internet history, someone can find it. But that being said, I'm interested in hearing your thoughts on this situation. How do you approach drama in the online space? Do you just step away and peace out? Do you take a stand one way or another? Let me know in the comments. I'd love to hear from you. So, in the old-fashioned way, thanks so much for watching. If you like this video, like, subscribe, join my Discord server, and follow me on my socials. And I hope to see you next time. Bye-bye!